I don't know as much about her as I should. I do know something about her, and I can't lie. I'm very strong Bernie partisan. But if she was in the race, this is clip number 11. If this candidate was in the race, then we can have a real conversation about two great candidates maybe being indistinguishable. I would need to know more about her domestic record. But this is Prime Minister Mia Mottley, who is the Prime Minister of Barbados. This speech at the UN General Assembly really caught my attention for a couple of reasons. One, because I'm quite invested in the project of counter-hegemony from the perspective of periphery countries in the Caribbean, but even sometimes in Northern Europe, certainly in Africa and so on. So she's speaking to that. And the courage it takes for the Prime Minister of Barbados to speak this way about Venezuela. Like, there is no, like, I mean, look, the United States is not going to invade Barbados, but I mean, you know, Donald Trump has a global trade war that jeopardizes his reelection because of his, you know, whatever he's made up in his head about China. I mean, so there's a lot of courage here on this clarity. And Mia Mottley is an incredible leader. I actually hope to interview her one day.
But what we know is that you cannot propel war over dialogue. The people of Venezuela must be allowed to decide their own future in accordance with the principles of the United Nations Charter. Principles of non-intervention, non-interference, prohibition of the threat or use of force, respect for the rule of law, human rights, and democracy. It is regrettable that other multilateral organizations have not followed their own charters. And that is what makes the actions of our Secretary General of the UN more laudable, for refusing to breach his own charter and take actions even though member states have hurled into the recognition of those unelected. That is why Barbados readily agreed to the request by Norway, and I salute my colleague Prime Minister who just left this platform, to host the talks between the Venezuelan parties. We salute the government of Norway for walking the walk and taking leadership in facilitating these talks. Equally, we regret that the talks have broken down. And we remind people that dialogue remains critical if there is to be a meaningful outcome and benefit for the Venezuelan people and its neighbors, not just its neighbors on the Latin American continent, but its neighbors in the Caribbean Sea, because people forget that Trinidad and Tobago is less than 7 miles from the coast of Venezuela. Our Caribbean Sea must remain a zone of peace, and for that we shall fight.
This is a really powerful leader. This is somebody who was honored by Rihanna recently. For being the first woman Prime Minister of Barbados.
I love that so much.
It's awesome. And big story in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
This destabilization, regime change efforts are having a major consequence on Trinidad and Tobago. I've been to Trinidad and Tobago, and, you know, I feel like Sarah Palin, but you can, like, see Venezuela from certain parts of beach.
Yeah, with Bernie's foreign policy, can you imagine how like you go into a coma for 4 years and you wake up and she's visiting him in the White House? How good you'd feel about the world?
So good.
Seriously.
Don't tempt me. Yeah, I was just gonna make a self-deprecating joke about how I absolutely did not know about that geography. So, everyone, study your globes, folks, and maybe you'll know where Venezuela is.
Mow the globe. It's really cool.